One-step inequalities. First, we want to recall that if you have a greater than or a less than sign, so that'd be greater than or less than, then when you are graphing, you're going to use an open circle. However, if you have a greater than or equal to sign, which would be greater than or equal to, or a less than or equal to sign, then when you are graphing, you fill in the circle. Okay, so don't get those confused. Be careful on which is which. If you multiply or divide by a negative number when we're dealing with inequalities, you must flip the inequality. Alright, so only if you multiply or divide by a negative. If not, you leave it the same. Now we're going to do some examples of solving and graphing one-step inequalities. So with this first one, really when you solve inequalities, it's the same as when you solve equations. So the first thing I'm going to do is pretend this is an equal sign, and I'm just going to do the opposite. So I want to get x by itself, so the opposite of plus 2 is minus 2. And I do it to both sides, leaving me with x is greater than negative 4 minus another 2 is a negative 6. So that's solved, and then I graph it. And I want x to be greater than negative 6, so negative 6 is here. It's an open circle because it's greater than, and I'm going to shade to the right. So there's your final answer. In this next example, we have y minus 3 is less than or equal to 2. So I'm going to do the opposite of minus 3, which is plus 3, to both sides. And y is less than or equal to 5. So when I'm graphing that, y is less than or equal to 5. So on the 5, I'm going to have a filled in circle because it's or equal to, and then it's anything less. And that is your final answer. For my next example, we have 3x is greater than or equal to negative 12. So 3x means 3 times x is greater than or equal to negative 12. So to get rid of times, I'm going to divide by the number, divide by 3, and x is greater than or equal to negative 4. So I graph that. X is greater than or equal to negative 4. Negative 4 is right here, and the or equal to means you fill it in, and it's anything bigger. So I'm going to shade bigger. For this next example, we're going to solve 42 is greater than negative 7y. So I'm going to start by writing it as 42 is greater than negative 7 times y. So to solve, I need to do the opposite of multiply, which is divide by -7. Now I just divided by a negative, both sides. When you multiply, or divide by a negative, flip the sign. Okay, so I've divided by a negative, so I'm going to have a -6. I'm going to flip this sign over and make it is less than y. Or I could write that as y is greater than -6. Either one is correct. 0. So y is greater than -6. -6 is there, and it's anything bigger than that. And that's your final answer. For this next one, we have -4 is less than or equal to y divided by a -2. Okay, so I have to solve this. So to solve, I have divided by, so the opposite of divide is multiply. Multiply by a -2. Now I'm multiplying by a negative, so I have to flip my sign. So I have -2 times a -4, which is going to give me a +8, and I'm flipping my sign over, and that equals y. So my final answer is 8 is greater than or equal to y, or y is less than or equal to 8. Alright, y is less than or equal to 8. Filled in circle on 8, and it's less than that. And that's your final answer. And my last example, I have 3 is greater than or equal to x divided by 4. So I got to get rid of divided by, and to do that, I'm going to multiply by my denominator, both sides. It's a positive number, so I don't have to flip anything. So I have 4 times 3 is 12 is greater than or equal to x. We might also write it as x is less than or equal to 12. So 12 is right there, and it's less than or equal to, so fill in your circle, and then less than is going to go to the left. And that's your final answer. So those are your notes over one-step inequalities and how to solve and graph them. Go through the practice problems, make sure you can both solve and graph these problems, and then you should be ready for your quiz.